It's gripping at every turn. Because one of the most popular ultra-high performance tires ever to hit the street is ready to tear it up like never before. With a whole new level of traction, stability, and braking performance, whether wet or dry. Step up to the all-new Nitto 555 G2. Check it out at nittotire.com. It's what's next.
Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, you are now tuned in to 110 Sports Talk. I go by the name Lynn Knapp. Hey,
it's the best.
Running through the competition, no competition. You don't believe it, turn us up. Sit back and listen. We bringing you the stats, all the breaking news and facts. Want the latest on the biggest trade, well this is where it's at. We don't talk it, boy, we live it, got that all around coverage. From track and field, you name a field, we got it all covered. No diss to Derrick Rose, but we don't talk that bull. Just wait till he get healthy, better watch out for them bulls. Slide over the hockey, shout out to the Kings. Salute to LeBron James, y'all both got y'all rings. Looking for the real, you tune into the best. The sportologist and Mr. CJ Sports is up next.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Show. I am your host, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Glad to be here on the Tuesday night. Yes, the number one night on the sports radio, the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. We got our very own NHL expert Izzo joining us at 10:30. So looking forward to having him on the show to talk some NHL. Until then, you got me, and I'm definitely going to do what I can do to make sure that we have fun for the next hour and a half. Don't forget, you can check us out on Facebook, my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. You can check out the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. I want to thank all the new fans we got. Still going strong. Got to thank Chris, Yellow Caution Flag Creighton. He's really done a number on recruiting over on the fan page. In the last about 48 hours, we've gained about 41 new likes, and got past. We were stuck there at like 674 there for the longest time, and we've gained about 41 likes over the last 2 or 3 days, and so definitely got to thank everyone for going over there and liking us and checking us out. And even more specifically, all those that are catching on and listening to the show. I got to thank each and every last one of you guys. Also, make sure you check out our site, www.the110nation.com. Also, our blog site. Bob, our new, another Bob in my life. Bob, the new writer over at the 110 Nations sports.com site, did a piece on the Pete Rose. Great piece over there, so make sure you guys check that out, as he is doing a wonderful job for us over there on our blog site. Make sure you guys check that out and continue to show this support. Also, make sure you guys continue to show your support for the I-95 Sports Network. They are syndicating, rebroadcasting our shows. This show will be replayed tomorrow sometime in the afternoon. I know yesterday's show was on today between 4:30 and 6:30. So make sure that you guys show them support. So make sure you guys go there and show support for the fact that they show us a great amount of support as well. Don't forget, it's Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., the 110 Nation Morning Show. We've been hitting it hard. Yeah, we've been hitting it hard. We've been hitting it hard, real hard. We've been hitting it every morning, so make sure you guys check that out. We got the 110 Nation Sports Show Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. We got Rubbin' is Racing on Monday to 7 p.m. We will be hitting that back up after the new year as we get prepared for the new season of NASCAR, and we got speed weeks and testing and all that we're going to be working on bringing you guys the latest on. Then we got Rubbin' Is Racing Thursday nights, 9 p.m. This Thursday is the last show of the year. We'll be picking it back up on the 7th of January after this week. This week's show, we're just going to kind of talk, it's kind of a personal show, just talking about our race experience and whatnot. And what's it labeled as? The highly rated internet radio show, Racing with Big Sweat, Thursday, December 17th, 9 o'clock. It's closing out the 2:15 with an in-house show, sitting in along with your host, Steve Big Sweat Billmeyer, and myself, of course, our new partner in crime, Damian Bean. He's going to be a new regular on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network as we build towards having him a show come springtime, so looking forward to that as well. And we're just going to go talk racing and our racing background. So great opportunity to learn about Steve Big Sweat Billmeyer. If you don't know Big Sweat, he's been around the sport for 25 plus years. He got to the crew chief, the likes of Tim Richmond back in the day, Jeff Bodine, amongst many others. Had his own local race team, done a lot of local asphalt racing. Just gotten a very extensive background in racing, local racing, NASCAR. Great time on Thursday nights, and so make sure you guys check that out. When we come back on January 7th, we got the world record holder of youngest driver, 2 years and 7 months old. Very excited. We'll be catching him from Italy. Very young, obviously very young. Very talented driver, especially at the age of 2 years old. Looking forward to kicking the new season off with that interview. So make sure you guys check that out Thursday nights at 9 o'clock. If you're interested in having a show or co-hosting a show, all you got to do is hit me at MrCJSports@gmail.com. What we're really trying to do is find somebody that wants to host their show on our network on Saturday and Sundays, or maybe you got a show out there and you would like the opportunity for us to syndicate your show and fill our spots on Saturday and Sunday. We got a lot of time. We got a lot of times that are free on Saturday and Sunday. As a matter of fact, we got about 5 hours a day that we get to play with, and we're only using about 3 to 4 hours, depending on the day of the week. Thursday is like the only day we really maximize and use about all 5 hours. But Saturday and Sundays, we don't use any of the time. With my work schedule and the fact that I'm already on 11 shows during the week with about, 3, 6, 9, 15, 17, about 17 hours worth of show on top of work and on top of everything else. I just can't do any shows on the weekend, and I got to get some sleep since I get up at 4:30 in the morning. So we would like to either have somebody that is wanting to have a show and is willing to host their own show, or if you guys, somebody out there has got their own show already on another network and they would like the opportunity for us to syndicate it and rebroadcast it to want to fill our spots, but also to help gain a viewership for you guys, hit me at MrCJSports@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in writing for the 110 Nation, as a big part of our focal point to finish the 2015 year and going into the 2016 year is the blog site. If you're a writer out there and you want to express yourself and maybe you don't want to be on the radio, but you would like to be able to just write and not have to worry about being nervous and everything else on the radio, all you do is send me at MrCJSports@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in coming on the show, we've had a phenomenal year in 2015. I can't even begin to tell you all the guests we've had on the show. We've had quite a few great guests. Looking forward to seeing what 2016 is going to bring forth. But if you're interested in coming on the show, if you're an athlete, part of some kind of athletic organization or whatnot, maybe you got a show or a site you want to come on and promote it and talk sports, or maybe you got some kind of foundation or something. All you got to do is hit me up, MrCJSports@gmail, or I'm sorry, all you got to do is hit up Ms. Lee. That is LEE_110nation@yahoo.com. Tell you what, crazy world. Got some good news for racing fans out there. It looks like Rockingham is going to give it another run here. Looks like we're going to see some potential racing action at the Rock. No, it's not going to be NASCAR or any of the three big series from the NASCAR series, but race tentatively set for Long Island Rockingham Speedway. This is big. I got the opportunity. I didn't realize for the longest time how close I actually lived. I worked in Southern Pines, which is no more than about 20 minutes from the track. Had no idea while NASCAR was going to the track and still having races on that circuit how close I really was, or I would have found myself going to the Rockingham Speedway. Got the opportunity myself to go the first year that they tried to make the return when they brought the Truck Series back. Casey King won the race. Didn't get to go back to the second year. Just had too many things come up at that point in time. Was hoping that they would continue having the Truck Series out there so we'd have an opportunity to go back out there again. And, of course, they quit running the running out there at the track, and then bankruptcy and everything else. And one thing after another, it's kept NASCAR and any other really true racing out there to be out there at that historic track. Well, it looks like the Super Cup Stock Car Series is reportedly going to close its 2016 schedule with a race at Rockingham Speedway, the former NASCAR track that's been idle for almost 3 years. SCSCS has operated for 8 seasons, primarily in the Northeast, but extending as far west as Columbus, Ohio. In 2016, its 2016 schedule currently lists 8 dates, but half of those are shown as to be announced. The track last hosted racing in April 2013 with the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series event. According to the Richmond County Daily Journal, Farmer and Merchants Bank began foreclosing proceedings against owner Andy Hillenberg and Bill Salas, accusing them of defaulting on a $4.2 million loan. The lien has since been assigned to BK Rock Holdings in Stuart of Florida. So obviously it's a big deal, especially for those in this area, to see, and anybody that's a NASCAR fan. This is really a big deal, but this is one of those tracks that it has been around the sport for a very long time. A very historic track, a track that is anybody that is a race fan can appreciate and loves the opportunity to be out at the Rockingham Speedway. So, obviously, a big deal for NASCAR, and even a bigger deal for the racing fans out there to have an opportunity. Great track. Enjoyed myself when I went. Obviously, not the most up-to-date track compared to some of the other tracks, compared to the Miami Homestead that I've gotten the opportunity to go to. And a lot of its, facilities are on the older side, not going to lie, but it's got character, and it's got the historic feel to it that it genuinely has, needs, and deserves. And, it's definitely one of those tracks that if I wouldn't have already gone to would be on my bucket list. But, like I said, I got the opportunity. I will be out there this year, 2016, to watch the Super Stocks. Will definitely be keeping my eye on that to see when the tentative date is, and be listening to and trying to get that information from anybody and everybody that I can find that information from. So definitely looking forward to seeing the opportunity to see the guys back out on the track, guys and gals, I guess. So definitely excited about that. I tell you what, 45 minutes up the road. That's by far the quickest track. I think that's another reason why it's so aggravating to me to not have this track running like it used to be running, because it's literally just a hop, skipping away. And, I mean, it probably even quicker than 45 minutes. If I was one of those people that, was quick and fast in a hurry, I'm one of those conservative drivers. I take my time getting from point A to point B, and never ever really in a rush to get anywhere. So it is what it is, and looking forward to, like I said, an opportunity to be back out at Rockingham Motor Speedway. I tell you what, this McCarran looks to Holt Bama QB curse. I meant to talk about this last night. A.J. McCarran is going to be taking over the reins for Andy Dalton, obviously with Andy Dalton being out for the release of the rest of the season. It's hard to believe, and I kind of had to do a little research on this when I saw this being passed around. I mean, it's Alabama. It's the big, bad Alabama. The best of the best, not really. We know that it's all smoke and mirrors, and, when you have a pansy-fied as possible schedule, that it makes you look better than you really are. And, Alabama's been notorious for that for many years, of pansy-fying their schedule to make them look better. And, traditionally they might play two ranked teams, and one of it being LSU, but both of them make their schedule so light that no matter who loses, it doesn't hurt either one of these schools. As much as a rivalry as it is, I think that they're a little bit more buddy-buddy behind the scenes by doing that. And I tell you what, that's one great thing about this quote-unquote playoff system, really just the addition of 2 games. But it helps make it a little bit harder and makes teams such as Alabama have to play at least 2 out of 3 top 4 ranked teams. And it helps eliminate teams. It helps eliminate Florida State. It helps eliminate Alabama. It really truly showed us last year how overrated Florida State and Alabama had been. Well, interesting fact, Alabama's not had a quarterback win since 1987 in the NFL. Yes, we're going on almost 30 years since a Alabama quarterback has won in the NFL. I mean, it's really, I guess, not that surprising. I mean, you take all these so-called Heisman running backs and high-profile running backs that come out of Alabama, ain't none of them really done anything. I think the only name that really sticks out right now to me when it comes out of Alabama, when it comes to the top 3 position players, quarterback, running back, and wide receivers, Amari Cooper. And I'm not going to take anything away from Amari Cooper. He is having an outstanding, phenomenally great rookie season. I don't want anybody to think that I'm trying to hate on Alabama. That's not the deal. But, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, 1987, since Alabama's produced a quarterback that won a game. I'm not saying going to the playoffs or winning a Super Bowl. We're talking about simply winning a football game. It has not happened in almost 30 years. Crazy facts. And, maybe with the quote unquote playoff system that they have, format they have right now, which, like I said, this is not a really a playoff format. It is 2 extra games added to the schedule. But maybe with this format, it will help keep the overrated teams such as Alabama and Florida State from winning national titles. And what they need to do, like we talked about last night, is adding and implicating a 16-game playoff system that will really give us an opportunity to see who the best of the best are. When you got to play at least 4 games if you're going to win a national title against at least the top 16 teams. That's the other key point about the playoff system that I told you the NCAA last night really needs to have implicated versus this add 1 or 2 games and that's it. It's not only now you win a national title, you got to play 2 of the other 3 top 4 teams. I know it's complicated to say, but you got to at least play 2 of the other top 3 teams in the top 4 to win a national title, which is better than what it has been. Right? Before, you could cruise through and maybe play 2 ranked teams all year long like Alabama would do, and you can win the national title. Well, you have to play a third. They have to play a third, and that is, whoever they play in the bowl game. And, for instance, when they play Notre Dame, who didn't play anybody ranked all year long. I think Michigan State was the only team that actually played ranked that year. And they coached through, when Alabama played them. It was a give-me game. But at least with the new playoff system that needs to be in, the 16-team playoff system, I mean, you got to play 4 top 16 games. That will give us a better reading of a true champion. I'm sorry, I'm tired of, why don't we just hand out participation trophies and call it a day for the NCAA? I'm sorry, I want to see real competition. I want to start seeing if these players are getting paid millions of dollars to walk into the NFL. These players are getting things handed to them. We're possibly talking about paying these college athletes. I want them to earn everything that they're having handed to them with a silver spoon. And I know that you're going to have people that they're not having everything handed to them. They can't hardly afford this. They can't hardly boo-hoo. They get a $50,000 or $60,000 a year education. I guarantee for all of you out there that want to feel sorry for these college athletes and talk about they should get paid, you know what? I'll agree with you. I will agree with you that they should get paid, and they should get paid what a job is going to pay, because they're talking about it's a job, and they can't have another job. So whatever, and I don't feel that they should get paid minimum wage. I have no problem with them getting paid $10, $12, maybe even $15 an hour. I mean, it's a pretty physical sport, and we're not giving overtime. That's not happening. We got a budget just like a regular job. On top of that, there's no scholarships no more. We're not going to give free education. We're not going to give you $50,000, $60,000 on top of paying you. No, you're not getting a $100,000 job to go to school and play a little bit of football. So no scholarships, no boarding, no books, no food, no nothing. I have no problem with the athletes, and I have no problem with them getting the royalties from the video games, the jerseys, which is pennies on the dollar. I mean, honestly, by the time everybody, Uncle Sam, the store, EA Sports, the game system, everybody gets their NCAA, everybody gets their cut. It's really nothing left at the pot that they're fighting over. But go ahead, as long as they're paying for everything and nothing is given to them for free, and at this point, I don't care if they get paid for their autographs. If that's how they make their extra money, if that's kind of their quote-unquote bonus, I'm fine with it. So you pay them a regular job, $10, $12 an hour, no more than 40 hours a week, just like any other business out there. And, for their bonus, if they get people, boosters that are willing to pay them for autographs, so be it. I am fine with it. But like I said, there is no longer any free rides. There's no scholarships. There's no books. There's no board. They pay any utilities that any other student that is not got any scholarship would have to pay. Anything that a person like myself that walked on to UNC, Ohio State, Alabama, whatever, and had to pay for every last single thing, that nothing was handed to me, whatever I had to pay for, they got to pay for. And if that's how it's going to be set up, I am all about them getting paid. I have no problem with it. But we know that's not how it's going to work. It never does. So that is what it is. But yes, 16-game system would definitely have to have them play 4 ranked games, 4 top 16 teams. How great would that be? But yeah, I want to be surprised, and I had to double fact check that. I mean, it's hard to believe that Alabama. It would be easier to believe that Alabama's not produced a playoff caliber quarterback or a Super Bowl quarterback, but to say that Alabama's not even had a quarterback win a football game as a quarterback in almost 30 years, that is crazy. And like I said, I meant to talk about this yesterday. I forgot all about it. And I have some Alabama fans that come in to my job, and I was so hoping that they would make their way in there today, and they never did. It was kind of disappointing because I had some things to share with them today. Did get the opportunity, so I figured that all the Alabama fans that are tuning in tonight, I want to throw a little fact in your face about your so beloved quarterbacks of Alabama, and even muster up a victory there. A.J. McCarron was the starting quarterback when Alabama won a couple national titles. Brent Musburger made his girlfriend, Catherine Webb, famous. The Cincinnati Bengals took him in the 5th round of the 2014 draft to serve as backup to Andy Dalton. Between then and Sunday, he had thrown 4 NFL passes, married Webb, and announced that the two are expecting a child. You are forgiven if you kind of forgot about him. Now, McCarron is one of the most important players in the race for seeding in the AFC. Dalton fractured his thumb on Sunday to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and now the Bengals now belong to McCarron. For how long, no one is certain, but the 10-3 Cincinnati is in a 3-team race with 11-2 Patriots and the 10-3 Denver Broncos for home field advantage until the Super Bowl or be a first-week bye. The stakes are considerable, coming as the 3 seed not only means an extra game, which cuts the time down Dalton might have to recover if he's not back by then, but could also mean facing dangerous Pittsburgh or white-hot Kansas City, either of which could be the 6th seed in the wild card round. McCarron went 22 of 32, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, and 3 sacks in the loss to the Steelers. It wasn't great. It wasn't terrible. It was a tough spot, essentially, start for the NFL career. There's a lot of things you could say, but you ain't getting a win. But yeah, I tell you what, the Cincinnati Bengals got themselves in an interesting situation because you really need the path of the Super Bowl to go through your house, especially if you're Cincinnati. Especially if you're a Cincinnati Bengals team that has not won a playoff game, not only since Andy Dalton has been there, but since Marvin Lewis has been there. You're looking at about 12-ish yards, if I recall right, that Marvin Lewis has been head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, and you've been yet able to win a playoff game. And, every year Cincinnati fans, and I know a lot of Cincinnati fans just because a lot of my family is Cincinnati Bengals fans. A lot of the my friends and my family are Cincinnati Bengals fans. I'm one of very few Cleveland Browns fans. As a matter of fact, I'm the only Browns fan in my family, and one of very few Browns fans in my cycle or circle of friends. And just one of those things that I'm just not. 2003, so yeah, 12 years. I hit that one right on the head. 12 years, and you've been unable to win a playoff game. I don't play well with others. I just can't stand Cincinnati. Honestly, I wish they would just jump over the Ohio River and become Kentucky's problem. I don't know. There's nothing about Cincinnati that interests me. I never viewed them as a serious threat of ever winning a Super Bowl. And it's funny because they've been to 2 Super Bowls, and they've almost won both those Super Bowls. They happen to lose to the same team in pretty much the same fashion, losing to the 49ers and watching the 49ers go down to score a late drive to win the game. I just never have viewed them as a legitimate contender for a Super Bowl, or really just a serious contender, period. It's the Cincinnati Bengals. It's like the Browns' little brother. That's kind of what you view them as. If you're an actual football fan and you know football, not just a Cincinnati Bengals fan, but actually a football fan, and that's the only way you can view it, as the Browns' little brother. And yes, I understand that the Browns or the Bengals have had a couple really good seasons and some better seasons as of late than the Cleveland Browns, but you still visualize them as the Browns' little brothers, as the team that, you know, will always come second to the Cleveland Browns in the state of Ohio. And, you know, a lot of it's got to do with the history. A lot of it's got to do with the success. I mean, you start talking about championships for the Cleveland Browns, you know, you can't have that same conversation with the Cincinnati Bengals. And when you talk about, you know, players and you know, top players to ever play the game, and you can name some players from the Cleveland Browns that fits into that category, you can't do the same with the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, who are you going to throw in the list of who are you going to throw in the list with the Cincinnati or with the Cleveland or with the Cincinnati Bengals when you talk about greatest players all time? And for Cincinnati, you can't. I mean, there's just so much history with the Cleveland Browns when you talk about championships, winning the championship in 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 54, 55, 64, 8 championships. First professional football team to go undefeated. The 1946 Cleveland Browns, and it was like a 2 or 3 year stretch that they only lost like 2 games, period. And it's really a shame that the Cleveland Browns are not recognized as the first undefeated football team. And a lot of it's got to do with, they blame it on a couple things. They blame it on the schedule, because the Browns only had to go 14-0 to go undefeated that year. And they blame it on the competition. Well, it's really an embarrassment, because you could say the same thing about the 72 Dolphins. I mean, now to go undefeated for an entire season, you got to go 19-0. The Dolphins only had to go 16-0. That's only 2 more games than the Cleveland Browns had to go. And we can compare the competition level now to the competition to the 1972 or the 1972 season, just like they did for the 72 season versus the 46 season. Obviously, the competition is much higher in a much better class now than it was in 1972, just like from 1972 back to 1946. So I think it's really a slap in the face to true NFL fans or true football fans, and really a slap in the face to the Cleveland Browns organization to know that the 46 Browns doesn't get recognized for being the first undefeated professional football team, because they only had to do it in 14 games versus 16 games, even though then where does that leave the New England Patriots that was 18-0 and still doesn't get recognized because they lost that final game to the New York Giants. But on top of that, the competition level, being what it was then, to 72 versus 2000 and beyond, I mean, it's like the NFL kind of, and those that dictate who gets credit for the first undefeated or the only undefeated seasons. It's kind of a hypocrite thing, knowing that the exact reasons that you don't recognize the Cleveland Browns for what they established and what they have done. You recognize the Dolphins, and I'm sorry, but that to me is that's crazy that you can. I think it's crazy that you can recognize one, but you can't recognize the other for the exact same reasons you don't recognize one, but you do recognize the other. But back to my point, you know, the Bengals will always be the Cleveland Browns' little brother, just because of all the greats that have come across that, you know, you can sit there and talk about. Like I said, Jim Brown, Brian Said, Clay Matthews, some of the greats that have, you know, Otto Graham, Paul Brown, head coach, like I said, Jim Brown, just all the names that, you know, we've Chuck Noll, just all the names that Don Shula, Ozzie Newsome. I mean, we could go on forever, and the legends here and talk about just many different players that have come across the Cleveland Browns. I mean, obviously it sucks that we ain't seen none of those as of late. We could really use a great to come across our path, but it will be interesting to see if AJ can finally break the Alabama curse or streak or whatever you want to call it of almost 30 years of not being able to beat or win a football game. We have the Cleveland Cavaliers playing right now. About to go up, and now they're up 15 points over Boston with about a minute 45 left. It was interesting because I turned the game on. They was only up by like 3 points. It was a very close game. Actually, I think they were down by 3 points. And then the next thing I know, the game has swung in the opposite direction. And now this game has just really gotten out of hand. Now Boston's just now trying to shoot a bunch of three-pointers to try to dig themselves out of a hole. I hate when games get to that point. I hate when you watch a team get to a point that they're so far behind that all of a sudden they feel that they need to start shooting three-pointers, and especially when it's your team. I think sometimes teams get to I hate when my team gets to a point that they feel they need to start shooting threes. I think teams jump at it too early. The stuff you see on Facebook really cracks me up sometimes. But I wish sometimes that they would try to work their way back in before they go straight to shooting 3 points. Like I said, sometimes I feel that teams, and especially what my team does, that when the Cavaliers find themselves just a little bit too far behind, and they decide it's time to start just lobbying up 3-pointers left and right. You know, try to make some baskets and try to play defense. And see what happens. Don't go instantly into just shooting threes all the time, because as good as you could be at the three-pointer sometimes, not every night you're that good, and I just really hate it. Jason Hayward preferred the young Cubs to the aging Cardinals, as we're starting to understand why. Jason Hayward decided, other than the fact that the Cubs is a much better team than the St. Louis Cardinals. It was already projected to go back to the World Series, and not only that, it was already projected to win the World Series. Jason Hayward had $184 million rather obvious reasons to choose the Chicago Cubs during his free agent courting process, but there was another reason the Cubs appealed to Hayward more than the St. Louis Cardinals. The Cubs youth. The Cubs introduced Hayward to the media Tuesday, making official his 8-year contract worth $184 million. He smiled and talked about how he'd play center field if that's what the team needs. He talked about how he wants to win with the Cubs, and the front office folks talked about how he's a perfect fit. You know, the usual introductory press conference stuff. Hayward went on to say, "I didn't take the highest offer." He told reporters, "For me, a winning attitude and culture, and the fact that this group is such a young group, and I could grow myself with it. And to be 26 years old and look throughout my hopefully 8 years here that I was able to grow up with a group of guys and make them family, and to be able to cherish that the rest of the way without feeling I had to restart." On the open market, Hayward was an alluring option for many teams, but the Cubs and Cardinals emerged as his most likely destinations. Bitter rivals and division foes against each other for one of the top players on the market. When Hayward picked the Cubs, many Cardinal fans were enraged. And now when they hear more about one of Hayward's reasons, they'll probably have a few things to say too. Hayward told reporters after the press conference that he liked the youth of the Cubs while saying the Cardinals were changing and some of their key players were getting older. He used a rundown but to see if we don't get this a lot of times from athletes. You got a lot of athletes that will pass up an opportunity to win a championship. This is usually the two things you see. Either you'll see a player pass up the opportunity to be on a championship team and go to a lesser team because of the money, or they'll take the max contract on the team, even if it's a possible championship caliber team, versus taking a lesser contract to make sure that the other pieces that are needed can be added. And, and obviously baseball is a little bit different with the no salary cap. I'm not going to say issue, but the no salary cap rule. Obviously basketball and NFL, it's more of an issue, and you're wanting more, especially veteran players to maybe be willing to take either more money on the back end, take more of the guaranteed money so that it doesn't affect the salary cap, or even just take a lesser contract so that they can have an opportunity to win a championship or multiple championships before they finally call their career. You don't usually get players such as Hayward who didn't take the biggest contract out there so he could go to a team that he felt was going to give him the best opportunity to win championships. And it's great, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air to see a player such as to see such as Jason Hayward that was willing to take those cuts and willing to not only not jump on the biggest contract, but just going with the contract that was offered to him for the team that he felt was going to give him the best opportunity, one, to be happy for the next 8 years, but more specifically to win a championship. That is so funny. Just to prove that men are better at everything, we won Women of the Year, and you can imagine the Caitlyn Jenner picture. That's some fun stuff right there. That is some fun. That is funny. Like I said, you don't get to see that everywhere, every year and all the time. So it's really really cool to see that. That ought to be interesting. We got the Sacramento Kings and the Houston Rockets coming up. And earlier today, there was reports out talking about Dwight Howard doesn't like playing with James Harden. That ought to make things rather interesting for not only the Houston Rockets, but the chemistry of these two teams. And, in all fairness, if I was Dwight Howard, I understand in parts why Dwight Howard said this. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's James Harden. He at best is a sixth man. He is not a player that is a big three nor is he a go-to guy. The only thing James Harden is a guy that has learned how to master how to flop to get the calls, and a guy that doesn't play defense. So on that aspect, I understand, and I completely agree with Dwight Howard on not wanting to play with him. But for his other reason, the reason he's actually going with is he don't like to be second. He doesn't want to be backseat to anybody. And to me, that reason alone is ignorance right there. But Dwight Howard is not a number one guy. The only time that Dwight Howard will ever be a number one guy again, or like he was before, is if he's surrounded by a bunch of mediocre at best players. We talked about it either last night or the night before. The fact that Dwight Howard, only reason he looked as good as he did in Orlando is because there was really nobody else there to not make him look good. It was like Chris Bosh in Toronto. You know, he looked phenomenally great in Toronto, but once you put him on a Miami team, he doesn't look that great. He's just a decent player. Then he throws LeBron James on the team, and everybody was talking pure garbage the whole time. Now that LeBron James is gone, yes, now Chris Bosh looks decent again, but he's not a top player in the league. And that's kind of how Dwight Howard is. When he played in Orlando, yes, he looked great, but there was nobody around him. You take him to L.A., and you've got other talent out there. No longer does Dwight Howard look good. Now you got a team with a bunch of decent players out in Houston, and so it's kind of hit and miss. There's just too much talent out there to make him look good, but there's not enough really good talent to make Houston good. I mean, Houston is struggling still. But James Harden's teammates reportedly complained about his play and aloofness during players-only meetings. One was one of the critics, Dwight Howard. Dwight Howard is, according to Chris Sheridan of Sheridan Hoops, Dwight Howard is extremely unhappy in Houston, playing second fiddle to alpha dog James Harden. Multiple league sources tell SheridanHoops.com. Sheridan is hit or miss. He is ahead of the game on LeBron James returning to the Cavaliers, which that was really, I came out with a report a year before LeBron James returned. That was really a no-brainer. Once we saw the Cleveland Cavaliers moving out cap space and getting rid of some of the players they were getting rid of, we already knew. And I wrote a piece, and it was over on CJ Sports NBA Talk, which we don't have anymore. But I had a piece labeled Cleveland Cavaliers clearing the path or something to the path to LeBron's return to the kingdom or something to that nature. And so, I mean, to use that as his credibility really is kind of an insult, because there was a lot of people out there that knew ahead of time that LeBron was returning returning back to the Cleveland Cavaliers. But the Rockets are 12-13, and that type of losing creates problems and brings festering onto the surface. Howard ranks fifth on the team in shots per game behind Harden, Trevor Reza, Marcus Thornton, and Terrence Jones. At age 30, Howard might not be capable of carrying a huge load, but he doesn't mean he thinks that way. Earlier this year, he said he believes he's the NBA's best player. And also last year, he said he was a champion, even though he's never won anything in the NBA other than maybe a slam dunk contest. He's never been a champion. But Houston is found themselves in a interesting situation here, because you built this team around, first of all, you decided to build this team around Dwight Howard and James Harden, two guys that want to be the alpha dog. And where the issue lies with this is not a Dwayne Wade, building around Dwayne Wade. It's not built around LeBron James. It's not building around Kobe Bryant. This is not building around Paul Pierce back in the days of Boston. This is not building around Paul George. This is not building around Tim Duncan. This is building around Kevin Durant. This is building around two guys that are not alpha dogs. These two guys are maybe at best. Let's put it this way. Dwight Howard serves as a starting center. There's no doubt. His big body, his athleticism is obviously justifiable for him to be a starting center. Now, a top center in the league, and this is going to say a lot because there's not a lot of good centers in the league, or really centers, period, in the league. No, he's not a top 5 center in the league. Now, the other issue is you're also counting on James Harden to be really his equal. And you're basing it, these two guys are top players in the league. James Harden is no more than a come off the bench kind of guy. I understand he scores a lot of points. I understand that he was second MVP, which I still kind of lost on how that even happened. But when you have a player that it has been pointed out, I think everybody takes a shot almost every time he plays a game to point out the fact that he does not play defense. I can't tell you how many different sites of his Bleacher Report, Fox, ESPN, NBA, NBA on TNT, everybody that I follow on Facebook and whatnot, putting on videos showing James Harden standing there watching the player go by him. Like he makes no effort on defense. And then to know that most of his points, well, I might say most of his points, but a lot of his points come from the free throw line, which is a result of the officiating of the league and the flopping that he does. It's not even truly basketball. It's more the art of acting. I'm still kind of confused how he was even in the running for MVP, and if he would have won, it would have really said a lot of the lack of, I guess, of reality when it comes to this sport. But James Harden is nothing more than a sixth man. He is not truly, he's a role player. You can even say he belongs on a starting 5. I'll give you that much, but he is not MVP of the league or nor MVP of the team kind of caliber. There's a reason why Oklahoma had him coming off the bench, and it wasn't because they already had Kevin Durant and Westbrook on the team. They could have put James Harden out there as a starter as well if they really wanted to, but that's not what they chose to do. He is not a true starting dominant player. He's one of those players that can come off the bench, give you a pop, help you hold over until your true starting players, the players such as Westbrook and Kevin Durant of Oklahoma, can get a few minutes of rest and come back on the court. That's what you got out there, and that's where Houston's running into this issue, is you're constantly trying to add pieces. I mean, the addition of Josh Smith, great addition. Ty Lawson, a great addition. But you don't have the players. The Houston organization, the front office, is really delusional. They're under the assumption that they have two of a big three combination, and they're just one piece away, and that's not it. They're nowhere close to being in the caliber as what we can say LeBron and Kevin Love, or LeBron and Kyrie Irving, or Kevin Durant and Westbrook, or the days of KG and Paul Pierce, or Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, or that whole big three scenario. Where we can go down the San Antonio Spurs, the LA Clippers. They don't have that. They're nowhere close to being in the same caliber, and that's where the Houston Rockets are really screwing up. They fire a head coach that should have been fired. They're 12-13. They're on the outside looking in when it comes to the whole playoff scenario, and there's a good reason, because they're trying to build a team around the assumption that these two are two out of the three pieces that you need to win a championship, and that's not the case. You might have, with both of them together, you might have one out of the three pieces. Either you need to have 6 guys on the court at the same time with their skill set, or you need to have better players on your team, and these guys end up being your supporting role here. That's honestly what you got, and I kind of feel sorry for it, the Houston Rockets organization, because obviously they don't get it. They invested a lot of money in two players, and they obviously just don't get it. They thought they were getting a deal and about to put themselves in a championship situation because he didn't fit into the Lakers and nobody else wanted to deal with that drama. So we're going to take this on. This is Dwight Howard. And then Houston, well, OKC is not going to fork out the money for a guy that's no more than really a six-man role. And so Houston, well, we're going to give this man his money because this is a piece to make us a championship team. I'm sorry, Houston. I'm sorry that you invested that kind of money on two players that are not going to win you a championship. It's just not going to happen. What needs to happen, this is what honestly needs to happen, in order for Houston to turn themselves around and to become a serious contender for an NBA final championship, you need to add a legitimate piece. And what I mean by that is you can't win a championship with what you got. So you got Josh Smith, you've got Ty Lawson, you've got James Harden, you've got Dwight Howard. Now you need a bona fide top player in the league. So what Houston needs to do to even have a chance, and I think it could happen. I think it could happen with the right player. And I'm not saying any of these players were going to go to the Houston Rockets, but I'm saying if you could get a LeBron James with that supporting cast, because I mean honestly that's all they are. Yes, there's a chance you can win a championship. Kevin Durant with that supporting cast, yeah, you can win a championship. I guarantee there's a few other players out there that we could say with a Steph Curry that team is still good enough. That's because Golden State's supporting cast, and I don't even really want to call it a supporting cast because outside of maybe Harrison Barnes and maybe even Draymond Green, the rest of them hold their weight on an every night basis. Draymond Green shows up and plays and hit and miss, and Harrison Barnes is even fewer far and in between. Everybody else, you know exactly what you're getting, and they kind of play up to those contracts. Harrison Barnes and Draymond Green do not play up to the contracts they're getting paid, not on a nightly basis. Every once in a blue moon they do. But that team, the chemistry and everything else, that's a whole different monster right there. But maybe Steph Curry, to make it easier for Dwight Howard and James Harden, I don't know. But there are some players out there that are legitimate top-of-the-league players that if you add that to the Houston Rockets supporting cast that they have right now, probably could get you a championship or probably could get you at least deep into the NBA Finals, at least to the NBA Finals game anyway. But where they're at right now, with really four supporting players that, I mean, like I said, Dwight Howard's going to be a starter because there's not many centers. Like I said, I don't even think we would put him in the top 5 in centers. Outside of that, the rest of them are, and any other great team, Golden State, Cleveland Cavaliers, San Antonio, these players would not be starters. Ty Larson would be coming off the bench. James Harden, as we saw in Oklahoma, would be coming off the bench. Josh Smith will be coming off the bench. That's the team that we're looking at in Houston. And like I said, I really feel bad for the front office in Houston because they just don't get it. They are all in on what they have and just assume that what they have is good enough to win a championship, and that's not the case by any stretch of the imagination. But James Harden, not happening. Dwight Howard, is not happy. Rightfully slow. There you go. Rightfully so. Maybe not so much. Not so much for the reason that that Dwight Howard is using, but rightfully so. There you go. Rightfully so. Halfway point already. God, time goes by. Make sure you guys check us out on Twitter. You can follow me at CJ Sports 1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Check us out on Facebook, my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports. You can follow like the 110 Nation, 110 Nation Sports as well. Check out our site, the110nation.com. Check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. Make sure you guys support the I-95 Sports Network as they are rebroadcasting our shows, the 110 Nation Sports Show every day. So got to thank those guys. Make sure you guys go over and like them on Facebook and continue to show them as much love as you guys show us. I want to thank all the new followers over on Facebook. Over the last, I would say, 48 hours, the Facebook world has been really kind to us. We picked up about 45 likes over the last 48 hours, almost a like an hour. And it's just a lot of action going on over there, and I got to thank everybody for making that happen and being part of the 110 Nation and bringing the 110 Nation into your household. Very, very thankful for that. And you guys continue to show that support for everybody else. Don't forget, at 10:30, we got Izzo joining us to talk NHL. Very excited about that. Looking forward to talking some NHL. Always a great part of the show. Always a great opportunity. Looking forward to that. If you're out there and you want to help host or co-host the show, all you got to do is hit me up, Mr. CJ Sports. We would love to have the opportunity to have, our very own experts in different sports, whether it be MLB experts, NFL experts, whatever the case may be, to come on once or twice a week throughout the week. It would be a 30-minute, hour segment to talk NFL or talk specifics in different sports. Or maybe you want to host a show. All you do is hit me up, MrCJSports@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in writing for us as one of our key focuses on the end of the 2015 and going into 2016 of our blog site, or maybe you are good with social media, want to help us expand our social media, PR, marketing, whatever the case may be. Like I said, all you do is hit me at MrCJSports@gmail.com. As the holiday season is rapidly approaching us, as we move into the 2016 season, we're looking forward to bringing many, many guests onto the show, such as we did the last 2 years. I would say on average, we average about a guest per show. We're hoping that 2016 brings the same blessing as well. Interested to come on the show, if you're an athlete, part of some kind of athletic organization, team, whatever the case may be. Maybe you got a show or site you want to come on and promote and talk sports. Or maybe you got some kind of charity stuff that you have going on, some kind of foundation, charity, whatever the case may be. All you got to do is hit up Miss Lee. That is LEE_110nation@yahoo.com. Last night we watched the Miami Dolphins and the New York Giants play some football. I'll tell you what, that was a fun game to watch last night if you didn't get the opportunity to watch it. Relatively close until it got to be the latter part of the game, and the Giants went ahead and finished taking care of business, keeping themselves in pace with the Washington Redskins and the Philadelphia Eagles to go 6-7. As the Giants end up winning 31-24. I don't know what was more impressive to me, though, was the fact that Eli Manning goes 27 of 31 for 337 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. We all know Eli Manning, you don't know from one game to the next, one drive to the next, one quarter to the next, one half to the next. You don't know with Eli Manning. And to see him go 21 of 37, 87%, a career high in a New York Giants franchise record of 87.1%. But to see him go 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, a 151.5 quarterback rating, phenomenal game for Eli Manning. And we all know that I'm an Eli Manning fan. I am still not willing, never, nor will I ever be willing, unless he starts having games like, if he goes about the next 2 seasons having games just like this, then I might refer to him as a league. But when he has more fumbles and interceptions than he has touchdowns, when he barely completes 50% of his passes, and when he has a quarterback rating barely in the 80s, I'm sorry, I just can't identify him as being as an elite quarterback. Anybody can be part of 2 Super Bowl winning teams. Does not make somebody elite. As a matter of fact, there's many players out there that have been part of 2 Super Bowl winning teams. Does not make them elite, and nor do we ever refer to them as elite. Odell Beckham, 7 catches, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a phenomenal game. I thought this was an interesting task. Odell Beckham has already had 15, just as many as, he's already had 15 100-yard receiving games. It only took him 25 games to have 15 games of 100-yard receiving. It took Des Bryant either 83 or 85, I don't have that number in front of me, but either 83 or 85 games to reach that same task. Makes you wonder how much the Dallas Cowboys are actually overpaying Des Bryant. For a man that is so highly sold on himself, he doesn't put up the numbers that equals the contract that he is receiving by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want to take anything away from Des Bryant, as you know, he has obviously helped the Dallas Cowboys become a better team, but at the same time, he's definitely not worth the money that the Dallas Cowboys are paying him. They could have been better off giving him a better contract, a lesser contract, and been able to get other players to help make this team a better team all around, and you know, running game, other wide receivers to have targets to help bring some of the coverage off, whatever the case may be. But I thought that was a very interesting stat. I don't know what was more amazing, though, last night, to watch Eli Manning go 27 of 31, 337 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. To watch Odell Beckham go for 166 yards on 7 receptions, 23.7 yards a catch, 2 touchdowns, or the pylon camera view that we got to watch of the footwork on one of the touchdowns that Odell Beckham had. And without that, I don't know if they would have overturned the incomplete and turned it into a touchdown, being how his white shoes was that close to the white sideline that I don't know if you could really tell from what angles we had whether or not he was actually touching the sideline or not. But that pylon view that made it to where you could see it was about 2 finger lengths away, 2 widths of the finger, about the width of a thumb away from the sideline, that you couldn't tell unless that pylon camera that they've added in that pylon right there in the end zone wasn't there. I don't know if they would have overturned it or not. I couldn't tell the whole time. And then when they went to that view, I was like, oh my God, I love this view. They definitely made it where there was no doubt in your mind that Odell Beckham had caught that ball. And Giants, Philadelphia, and the Washington Redskins, a three-horse race. See, I'm watching it right now as they're showing it again, that catch and the view from the pylon. But obviously will make things interesting out in the NFC East. I am more specifically interested in watching the final week. when you got Washington going against Dallas, you got the Giants going against Philadelphia. Yes, these next 2 weeks are going to set it up to make Week 17 be a very exciting and a very fun week to watch. But I definitely can't wait until we hit Week 17 and it all coming down. You think that these teams hate each other, and you think these fans hate each other, and you think that we've seen a lot of craziness when it comes to the fans stabbing each other, fighting, and everything else. Oh, you ain't seen nothing yet. I can only imagine the reports that we're going to get from these games and the tension on the field, off the field, the hype and the trash talk that's going to go on leading up to Week 17 for both these games. And I have a feeling that in both these games, playoff implications are probably going to be still full of that. Right now, with Washington owning the tiebreaker playing Dallas, I can imagine the heated rivalry as it is then, and knowing what happened in the first time these two they faced each other. I can imagine what it's going to be like, and then there's no doubt in my mind that Philadelphia and the Giants are still going to be in contention. At least one of these teams will still be in contention, and to know the bitterness between the Philly and the New York. Oh, my God, I cannot. And I'm not even a fan of any of these teams. I could care less who really honestly comes out. I think Washington is going to be your team out of it. But for a long time I said the Giants, but the inconsistency, especially with the receiving corps, but the inconsistency of that team just beyond blows my mind. But I can only imagine what it's going to be like, especially not having a dog in the fight and be able to sit back. Yeah, I'm leaning back right now. You got to lean back and whole Week 17 unfold from that Monday or Tuesday after the games have wrapped up all the way until Sunday, whatever time that they're slotted to play on Sunday. Sunday morning, afternoon, night, whatever the case may be. I can only imagine what the trash talk is going to be like, what the excitement is going to be like, and wow. I can only imagine. Oh, Rajon Rondo. Sometimes it's just better. Sometimes it's better just to shut your mouth. Really, it is. Rajon Rondo. I did not mean to offend or disrespect anyone. Sacramento Kings guard Rajon Rondo tried to clarify on Twitter why he made a homophobic slur to longtime NBA referee Bill Kennedy, but stopped short of publicly apologizing for his actions. Rondo initially denied directing the comments at Kennedy during the NBA's investigation of the December 3rd incident, but tweeted out late Monday afternoon that he made the slur out of frustration and emotion after Kennedy ejected him from the game. Rondo's tweet came hours after Yahoo Sports published the details of Rondo's homophobic comments in a story in which Kennedy announced he is gay. From Rondo's account, it said, "My actions during the game were out of frustration and emotion, period. They absolutely did not reflect my feelings towards the LGBT community, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transsexual community." I guess that's what it stands for. You know, the LGBT community. "I did not mean to offend or disrespect anyone." Rondo practiced with the Kings on Monday, but did not speak to the media afterward. He is suspended without pay for Tuesday's home game, which is tonight's game against Houston, for directing a derogatory and offensive term towards a game official and not leaving the court in a timely manner upon his ejection. Kings owner apologized to Kennedy in a statement on Monday. Rajon's comments is not reflective of our culture of the Sacramento Kings organization or the world we want to live in. He said in a statement he's apologized and he has been suspended by the NBA on behalf of the team. "I apologize to Bill Kennedy for any harm this may have caused." Okay, I'm gonna stop that right there. If Rajon Rondo's action and comments do not reflect the culture of the Sacramento Kings, and you as an owner are honestly and truly apologetic for what your player did, this is what needs to happen. Once Rondo's suspension that the NBA, not the Sacramento Kings, but the NBA handed out, if you as an owner honestly feel that it is not reflective of the culture and you are honestly sorry for what your player did, you as an owner need to go ahead and suspend Rondo as well. That is the only way that anybody is honestly going to believe that you, Rondo, or anybody else part of that Sacramento Kings organization is truly honestly sorry. And that is the only way to show and prove that his comment is not reflective of the culture of the Sacramento Kings. I'm sorry, that's the only way. I mean, the only suspension he has received in anything is what the NBA dished out. Show us. Don't talk the talk unless you're going to walk the walk. So if the organization, the front office, wants us to truly feel that this is not how the organization is ran, and they are honestly apologetic of the things that came out of Rondo's mouth, then you need to suspend it. Not just what the NBA did, not just, okay, the NBA. No. Show us how apologetic you really are, how much this is not part of the culture. Because all this is saying is, you know what, we're sorry, but the only reason that Rondo is being suspended is because the NBA is making us do it. Prove to the world. And I'm a Rondo fan. I think he's one of the best point guards in the league right now. I'm not saying the best, but one of. I would put him top 5, maybe top 10, but probably top 5 point guards in the league. He's got the things, the jump shot that he still needs to work on, but the things he can do with that ball and how he can get the whole team involved, yes, it makes him definitely a top 5 to top 10 player, point guard in the league. But with that being said, there's no excuse for, regardless how you feel, that there's a certain time and a certain place for things. Not that I'm saying it's right for how you feel, but everybody has, there's 3 sides to this whole issue. It's either you're against homosexuality, you're for homosexuality, or you don't care. And that's where I'm at. I'm not going to say I'm against homosexuality, even though I was raised in church and, my church background, obviously believes against homosexuality. And, I'm not going to get into the whole debate, but it's quite clear where the Bible and religion stands with that. And then you got, the other side of it where you're for homosexuality, which, I'm not here to judge, and so that kind of puts me in the middle. I know what I believe, and I know how I was raised. I also know that everybody should have their rights, so I'm kind of in the middle where I don't care. I have homosexual friends, and, it ain't my business. It's kind of how we talked about yesterday with Bill Kennedy coming out and putting his business out there. It's really none of our business. I don't care, like I said, either last night or this morning, I don't care if you're bobbing your head or eating taco. It's really your business. It's not my business. Just like it's nobody's business whether or not I'm eating tacos or I'm eating hot dogs. I mean, it's my business. And so as long as you keep your business, and I keep my business, I really don't care. When we start crossing lines and I start talking about eating tacos and you start talking about having corn dogs, then that's where lines start getting crossed. And, I'm not sharing my business. You don't share your business. And in all fairness, there's only a few people in the world that, I even share anything, and those are deep personal friends. Friends I've been with for 17, 20 years. There's not too many people that know anything about my business. That's because it's my business. But, I kind of fall down the middle. I'm not going to go walk the streets and be part of the church crowd that is, saying that homosexuals are going to hell, because that's not my place to judge. Yes, the Bible might say one thing, and I believe a certain way, but also I believe everybody should have their rights. And then, like I said, it's not my place to judge, so I'm not going to do any gay pride marches as well. But, I'm not going to protest against or say anything, in a hateful manner, because I'm in the middle. I have straight friends, I have gay friends. It's not my business, and therefore, I kind of walk down the middle, and it's one of the things that's one where people that go to church and are against homosexuality or vocal about their dislike of sexuality or homosexuality, that's where things get really in a gray area for me, because even though I know religiously I'm not supposed to be for homosexuality, I'm also believe that I am not here to judge, that there's only one judge, and that is God. And so I cannot judge somebody for their sexual preference, because I am not God, and therefore I'm not supposed to be judging people, even though, I believe what I believe. And, it's all a complicated thing, In all fairness, and I'm going to put this out here before I don't get off topic here. This ought to make things interesting tomorrow with I-95 Network, I-95 Sports Network. I know there's a lot of guys out there, and we're getting ready to get Izzo in the house here in just a minute. Looking forward to having him on the show again tonight. If he's listening, he's probably going to chuckle at this as well. I know a lot of guys that two females, ultimate dream. If it be watch, if it be participate, whatever the case may be. I personally, I kind of stay out of that. And this is the reason is, I can't sit there and promote or want or pursue to watch two females and then sit there and say how wrong it is or how nasty it is to watch two guys. Regardless, my personal preference, I cannot be two-faced hypocrite. If I'm willing to be acceptable of one thing, I'm not just saying just to watch it, but just be acceptable of one lifestyle, I have to then therefore be acceptable for another lifestyle. So therefore, I cannot promote or go out of my way or try to anything when it comes to two females. And I'll put a little bit of my personal business out there that I want to put out there. No, I've never, ever been involved with two females. Never. No threesomes, no nothing. And it's got more to do with the fact that I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to say, well, how do you find it's okay for two females, but you have a problem with two guys? Now, I'm not saying that because I would be willing to watch two females and I'd be willing to watch two guys. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that I'm not going to say it is fine or promote or go out of my way or anything else. Now, I'm not going to lie. If I happen to come home and there happen to be two ladies in my bedroom and they say, hey, this is what we want to do, I'm not going to say no. Now, obviously, if there's two guys in my bedroom, then yes, you guys are going to get them out. I'm going to question why you're even in my house anyway. But anyway, my point is I don't promote one because I do not promote the other. So I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm a hypocrite or, there's a lot of guys out there, two girls this, two girls that, but two guys, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. I don't put myself in that because I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not here to judge. I'm not God. And I know I'm really off the whole sports topic, but anyway, I just didn't really want to jump into another topic knowing we was less than 3 or 4 minutes away from having Izzo on the show. So that's kind of why I just went into this direction. But that is definitely one thing about me. I'm not here to judge. I don't care what you do with your life. As long as it does not affect me in my personal life or it does not affect my children. In other words, whatever you do, as long as you keep whatever you do in your house, in your bedroom, whatever the case may be, so I don't have to know about it, I don't have to witness it, or more specifically my kids, I really don't care. I don't care if you're in there shooting up heroin or smoking meth or whatever, however you take that stuff. I don't care if you're eating whatever you do with the corn dog, or if you're having tacos. I really don't care. It's really not my business. As long as my children are not exposed to that, until they're old enough to make their own decisions, and they are then whatever, or, as long as I'm not exposed to it, unless I invite I'm not going to say invite myself, or are willing to come into a situation or come to a house, and then, of course, if whatever happens to your house, if I, accept your invitation to come in and you're doing whatever, then obviously that's a decision I got to make at that point in time, because I was willingly going into a situation knowing what possibly could be viewed. But, that is what it is. And like I said, if the Sacramento Kings, back to our original point here, if the Sacramento Kings was actually truly sorry and is not a culture that is a part of the Sacramento Kings organization, then once Rondo comes off of the NBA enforced suspension, then the Sacramento Kings would step in and have their own suspension. Just like they didn't take the NFL to suspend Johnny Manziel and sit him out and demote him. The Cleveland Browns went ahead. It was not part of their culture. They were apologetic to what Johnny Manziel did. They took care of business. And that's the way I feel the Sacramento Kings need to handle it. If you really got a problem with him making the slur and making the homophobic slurs, if you really, honestly, truly, if that's how you feel, we'll find out. We'll find out if Sacramento's actually suspend Rajon Rondo, or if it's just, okay, the NBA did it, we really don't care what he says, and we're going to let him play. We'll find out. We'll keep our eye on that. But without any further delay, we got our very own NHL expert in the house, Izzo, joining us tonight. Very excited about that. I seen that earlier in the day. He got to get on the ice and have a little fun this afternoon. Izzo, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty damn good, Jay. It's been a productive day. Like you said, I went on Bragg and got to play with a couple boys on their lunch break and everything early this afternoon. So it was a good, productive day. A little sore right now, but it was worth it. It was definitely worth it today.
I was going to say, did we make it through today's event without getting hurt?
I did take a shot to the hip area, but yes, we're relatively injury-free for the most part. So it was just good to get back on the ice and, play some ice hockey and everything. So fortunate enough to play with a couple guys on Bragg. Big shout-out to them guys. Really like playing with them guys. Got an Ironman tournament coming up January 1st with some of these guys, so looking forward to that, trying to get some practice time, some training time in doing that. So it's going to be a good process, and it's just a pleasure and just a hell of a good time to go ahead on post and play with those guys, get their minds off of things.
Always a great time to be able to kind of it's kind of way in with the gym, and when I was doing the competitions, you just get an opportunity to kind of clear your head, kind of get into your zone and everything. So it's always a great opportunity. Before we jump in to talk some NHL, as always, I want to give you an opportunity to plug your Twitter handle. That way all the puckheads out there can follow you, tweet you, have some great hockey conversations.
You can tweet me at 110 Puckhead. Hit me up on Twitter. Let's debate. Let's talk. Let's see who sucks. Let's see who's rocking it right now. So follow me at 110 Puckhead. And just to continue on real quick, I want to congratulate my old alma mater high school, the Farrell Steelers, on their way to Hershey, PA, going to the state championship game there next Friday at 1 o'clock. So good luck to them boys, and making our old alma mater, all of the old alumni from Farrell, really, really proud. Really happy to see that. Hopefully one more victory, they can return the state championship back home to Farrell and make the town even more happy and more proud. So congratulations to them and everything like that. Hopefully they do well next Friday, Jay.
Well, definitely want to wish them luck. We were kind of in the same boat. My former high school was in their state championship with football. The same school that Braxton Miller of Ohio State went to, of course, once again, played in the shoe again this year, fell short once again. So hopefully, unlike our circumstances, your guys' your high school will come out on top and be state champions. First batter of business, Patrick Kane. Good God Almighty, 27 game point streak. I know that the game that was on last Tuesday night, it took him late into the game, in fact, late into the third, if I'm not mistaken, before he got that point to keep the streak alive. I see that we're already in the third, early in the third, with 17 minutes left. Chicago has the big fat 0 right now on that scoreboard. Obviously, the streak is in danger. One, do you think that the Chicago Blackhawks, or more specifically Patrick Kane, is going to be able to find a way to keep the streak alive? And you being the puckhead that you are, how impressive of a run is this for you now that this has continued a whole other week?
Like you said, they still got about 15 minutes left in the third. I'm actually watching this game as I'm doing the show right now. So Colorado's really playing a tough game right now. They're really not giving a lot of chances. They're really forcing the play right now, forcing the Blackhawks to make quick decisions, quick passes, and really catching them off guard. With that being said, 27 games with a point, 27 straight games. I mean, that's just that, you really rarely see that. It's just one of those magical runs in the NHL that, the guy's just he's just seeing everything and, putting points up. And even though regardless, they haven't been really winning that often. As you see tonight, they're struggling, which led to the trade as of last night. Pittsburgh Penguins traded Rob Scuderi to the Blackhawks for Trevor Daley. Pittsburgh's going to retain 33% of Scuderi's $3 million contract for the rest of this season and next season. Trevor Daley still has 2 years on his deal. So the Blackhawks with this move are trying to bolster their gritty defense right now, their shot blocking, penalty killing, because that's what they're getting burned on, is just the lackluster defense right now, which is so that you can see why now they miss a guy like Johnny Oduya, who's now with Dallas and who's doing something great in Dallas right now. So for Patrick Kane to put up, 27 straight games with a point, he's just been tearing it up. He's leading the league in assists right now, 23, 24 assists right now or something like that. He's really just finding ways to make plays and everything. So, hey, you still got some time here, but, that's a pretty cool record to have. Now he's he's got the Blackhawks record, and he's coming up on the NHL record if he can get a point tonight. But needless to say, if he doesn't score tonight, 27 games that's really hard to do in today's NHL, Jay.
What, and the current record right now is what, 27? The NHL record?
I think it's 28 if I do believe so. I don't have that written down. It might be 27, 28, somewhere around that range. It's just very difficult. Some guys, today's NHL stars, the guys that put up points like Ovechkin and Malkin, Crosby, Taves, even, guys like that. I mean, they can hit scoring slumps. I mean, we look at Corey Perry at the start of the season. It took him, about 10 games to get his first goal, and then after that he gets it going. So, Patrick Kane can't be the only one right now that's putting up points. They need, help from Panarin and Taves right now. These guys, they need to start producing points. Brent Seabrook and Duncan Keith on the back end have to start doing something. They're trying to rely on their goaltending, and their goaltending has just been less than average right now. So I mean, they're keeping games close and everything like that, but you can't have one of your star players going on a tear and not win games. It's just not going to get you to the playoffs, Jay.
Oh, most definitely. Do you know roughly how long the NHL record has been along, or has been the record?
We haven't seen a streak like this since the '88 season. We haven't seen a streak like this since the late '80s. So that should tell you, how long it's really been since somebody's been on a magical run like this. So, 27 straight games, man, an assist or a goal or a couple assists, and he's just playing terrific hockey right now. I think he's feeling the groove right now, but the only other thing is it's just not contagious right now. No one else is really getting into it really right now. So and that's a bad thing for Chicago right now, because like I said, that Central Division, it's really rough to get through. So, and Dallas is in that division, and they're on top right now. So
how tough is it? You being a hockey player, how tough is it to you playing at that kind of level and having this kind of streak and it not equal to wins and just being out there and battling and the physicality of the sport and everything else? How tough is it for Patrick Kane at this point? How frustrating does it got to be?
Well, we got with a guy like Patrick Kane, he's automatically got a target on his back. You know what I'm saying? He's the guy that you don't want to have the puck at any point in time in the game. You want to kind of limit his chances as much as possible. And that's kind of hard to do for a guy like that, for Patrick Kane to be contained. You can only hope to contain him. You can't stop him, essentially. So, I mean, he's one of the most gifted stick handlers in the league right now. He's got decent speed for his size and everything. He's got the cup rings and everything like that. He's got the Olympic experience rate like that. He's been playing, a lot of good hockey on an international level and in the professional level and everything like that. And I think he's just now really starting to hit his prime. So he's just feeling it right now. And certain teams, they'll play certain things. They'll either run a man-to-man defense on him, or they'll, trap him in sort of a zone kind of position to try and take away his, chances, his opportunities, his shots and everything. So he's going to have somebody tagged on him, which has pretty much been most of the case. He hasn't really made, a really big impact in tonight's game so far against Colorado. So it's very hard. It's very hard because sometimes you might not get maybe but one or two shots a game. Other nights you might get 8 shots in a game, and you still might not hang behind the net. So, being a playmaking, goal-scoring forward like Patrick Kane is, it really adds, that double dose of poison for the other team, essentially, because not only can he score, he can, set up scoring opportunities and everything like that, which is why Patrick Kane is so tough, and he's one of the top stars in the league today.
Mm-hmm. Also, the Penguins, it seems that they've been making some coaching changing. What's going on with Pittsburgh, and how is this change going to change the direction of the Penguins?
Well, this one kind of came as a shock to me, Jay. I didn't see this coming. Jim Rutherford, when he hired Johnston, said that Johnston was his man, and he was the coach that he wanted to take the Penguins back to the promised land. Michelle Therrien and early Dan Bilesma days. So, coming out 15-10-8, man, and you have the offensive firepower and you have the team that you have. You can't be in third place in the wild card race right now when you're the Pittsburgh Penguins. You're looking at being at the top 2, if not at the top of the division in the Metro, and it's just not happening. They're getting scoring chances. They're getting unlucky breaks. Pucks are not bouncing their way right now. With a team like that and the firepower they have, there's no way that they should just be averaging only 1 goal a game, if that. So it was a real big shocker, and a lot of people are kind of happy with this. Mike Sullivan, who is the replacement, still has Rick Tocchet and Jacques Martin, who were the assistant coaches under Johnston. They retained their jobs. One of the other assistant coaches, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, he was let go too. But having Rick Tocchet and Jacques Martin, 2 of the brightest coaching minds in the NHL, both had outstanding careers in the league and everything like that, have been head coaches and have been to the playoffs before and have that experience. And I think it's really going to pay off. Mike Sullivan, who is a Massachusetts native, played for the Bruins there for a while and played for a couple other teams, was a penalty kill specialist. A good portion of his goals were scored shorthanded. So he was a very special team-minded player. So I think that's something that Pittsburgh is really lacking right now, with Chris Letang being hurt right now. Now Marc-Andre Fleury's out for 1 to 2 weeks with a concussion. So now's the time for Mike Sullivan to really try and right that ship. I wouldn't say it was bad as Columbus, with the hiring of John Tortorella, but it's pretty close and very, very similar in many ways. So hopefully this move will, give the Penguins some new life, especially on the defensive end, because let's face it, Pittsburgh's a big defensive town, no matter who you talk to, really. So Pittsburgh has always been a defense-first kind of a team. And I think now that with Mike Sullivan coming in and being hired as the new coach in Pittsburgh, he's going to really change that penalty kill around. He's going to really change the special teams around, and they should score a few more goals here. So that's what we're looking for right now.
how big is the coaching between the former coach and now Sullivan? I mean, I can only imagine how hard it is to go from one coach to another coach and partway into a season in any sport, period. But even more if the coaching styles are different. Is there a big difference in these two coaches, or are they kind of similar in their game plan or their thinking, and it be an easy transition for the Penguins?
It's going to be a challenge. Johnston was more of your offensive kind of minded coach, fast breaks, really pushing the puck deep and everything, getting down low on a forecheck. Sullivan, on the other hand, he's going to be his offensive game plan may be a little bit different, but his defensive game plan, he's going to be necessary because the Penguins have been having problems with breakout plays, getting out of their zone and everything. And Johnston was having real problems, even with the lineup that he had. Couldn't really get anything to really sit and fix with him right then and there. So Sullivan was very good at breakouts, pushing the puck forward, getting it out of out of the defensive zone. So I really think he's going to help them establish a breakout play or a breakout system that'll benefit with the speed that Pittsburgh has. Because if you have Phil Kessel, who's one of the fastest guys, Gino's a pretty quick guy, and some of the younger guys are pretty quick. Daniel Sprong is pretty fast. Bo Bennett is pretty quick, even though now he's just now gotten hurt. So the injury bugs are starting to plague Pittsburgh, and I feel that it's just at the wrong time of the season right now, especially with a brand new head coach coming in. So it's looking pretty gloomy for Pittsburgh right here. If they can, maintain maybe just above a 500 record while, Letang and Fleury and Bennett are on the injury list right now, I think they'll do okay. And we could see a decent change come around just after the All-Star break. I feel it's going to be a few weeks before they really get really get familiar with the system that Sullivan's going to bring in. So I think it's going to really help them in the long run, Jay.
Gotcha. Like I said, it's always interesting because, I'm not a big, and I know some situations are different than others, and coaching changes got to happen before the season's out. But it's always difficult to watch a team that's been so used to one coach in the middle of the season, not having the off season to make the adjustments, not having the off season to learn the coach and his style of play. And I've never been a fan of coaching changes happening in the middle of the season. And like I said, I understand that certain times, it's got to happen when it's got to happen. But that was kind of why I was curious in the two different styles, because I can only imagine how hard, especially at high pace of a sport that this is, and the changes that are going to have to happen. Also, division leaders. We're already about a quarter of the way into the season, or a little bit more than a quarter of the way, I guess, at this point. Is this season shaping up so of what you was projecting or what you thought, and what are your thoughts on some of the division leaders in the NHL?
Well, our division leaders, like you said, we're a good chunk of the way through the season. So far in the Atlantic Division, Montreal now is at 31 games played with 20 wins, 8 losses, and 3 overtime losses. And that's due to the fact of the tremendous start that they got out of the gate early when the season started. Haven't been really playing too well right now with Carey Price being on the shelf. They were having trouble tonight. Goaltending their backup goaltending issue is going to have to be solved, especially if Carey Price can't stay healthy for the rest of the year. So I'm really looking for them to be a little active on the trade market to try and get a better number 2 goaltender, because the 2 young guys that they have right now, I feel like they're just a little bit too young. They're playing in a pretty exciting division right now, and they just got to be the support beams to hold them up and stay atop of that division right now. So hopefully when Carey Price gets back, he can be back to his old self and, be hopefully injury-free for the rest of the season. So only time will tell. The Metro Division, Washington's been on top. 28 games played, 20 wins, 6 losses, and 2 overtime losses. And that's due to the fact of the goaltending that they're getting from Brayton Holtby right now.
as we all know, he got that nice contract at the in the off season, and he's been really proving how much he's really worth for the Capitals right now. Actually leading the league in goals against average, which is I think just under 2, if I'm not mistaken. He's just really playing some solid hockey, leading the league in wins with 18 right now. Like I said, his goals against average is a 1.90, so that's under 2 goals against his average and everything. So that's pretty impressive, especially for a good. We're pretty good early into the season, so he's playing amazingly right now for Washington, and Washington's just kind of feeding off of that, and with Ovechkin and Tarasenko and Backstrom, as we saw last night in Pittsburgh, they just beat the crap out of Pittsburgh 4-1 last night. Brayton Holtby just played an amazing game. Central Division, which is one of the craziest divisions I believe this year. Dallas is on top, which was a big surprise to me. I mean, I was kind of going over the standings and the rankings the other day, and when I saw Dallas on top, I'm like, man, how did they get up there? I haven't really, been paying attention to Dallas. They've been flying under the radar, but the reason Dallas has been playing so well, with Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn being line mates, each of these guys have 40 points so far, and Jamie Benn's leading the league in goals with 20, if I do believe. He might have 21, 22. I don't know if he scored tonight or not. But those two playing together and their 1-2 goalie combination with 2 number 1 goalies with Antti Niemi and Kari Lehtinen, these guys have just been winning games left and right and just been playing awesome 5-on-5 hockey. They've had a 7-game point streak going on as of recently, and they've been stringing together 2-3 wins, grabbing up 5-6 points here and there, and it's really pushed them up in the standings. So they're playing amazing hockey right now, and it's a beautiful thing to watch. And I think people in Dallas are just eating it up, even though the Cowboys are not going to make the playoffs this year. At least they got the Stars to watch. So coming out of the Pacific Division team, I kind of figured that would probably take it over there for a little bit. L.A., the Kings are at 29 games played with 19 wins, 8 losses, and 2 overtime losses. They got off to a shaky start in the beginning of the season. Their goals per game is at just over 2 right now. Their goals against per game are at just over 2, which is a pretty solid number. Recently, they're 7-0-2 in their last 9 games after that bad start, so that's a good a good 16 points to push you up in the standings. And with the way that Anaheim's been struggling and the way that San Jose's been struggling, it looks like the Kings could possibly cruise their way to another Pacific title and try and make another cup run and go for their third cup in a few years, just like Chicago has. So with that being said, with the division leaders, I'm not surprised by Montreal just by after the start they got. Dallas is was one of my big shockers. I really couldn't believe that they were up top of the Central and that far ahead too in the race and everything. The Metro, Washington, I've kind of expected that with Tarasenko, the addition of Tarasenko, they've been scoring goals. The power play's been pretty good, and like I said, they've been riding Brayton Holtby to the promised land. Kid's been playing awesome goaltending. He's just been a wall in front of that net, Jay. And with that, those division leaders, man, if they can keep this up, they can take their respectful divisions and everything. Washington and Montreal and Dallas, I mean, right now in LA, they're all in pretty good standings right now. Even though Montreal hasn't really been playing like themselves, I'm pretty sure if I'm not mistaken, they dropped to either between 7 and 11 in the power rankings just due to injuries right now. And it's been kind of a bleak thing right now for Montreal. They've only been winning 1 or 2 games at a time, and they gotta get Carey Price back, and they gotta rely on him again.
I tell you what, I think the part that I find most remarkable is the fact that Montreal came out with that hot start, and in 32 points they got 43. In 32 games they got 43 points. And now Washington 8-1-1 in the last 10 games, and in 29 games with 3 less games, they have outscored Montreal, having 44 versus the 43 points. But even more so, Dallas, who is 6-2-2 in their last 10 games, and won tonight is winning tonight as well over Columbus with a 5-1 score right now. The fact that they got 46 points, which is in 30 games, so in 2 less games, they've outscored them by 3 points. With Montreal coming out as strong as they were, one, that says a lot about Dallas and Washington. Obviously, they found whatever they needed to find to make themselves be that long-term team, not a team that just got hot right out of the gate, but to see them overcome and pass a team that was so hot at the beginning. That kind of really impresses me about Dallas and Washington at this point.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is if Montreal wouldn't have got off to that hot start, if it was the clear opposite, if they went 0-10, 0-12, and then all these injuries happen, it'd be a bad thing for Montreal right now. So it was a good thing for them to get off that amazing start to rack up all them points, because now, like I said, they're winning maybe a game here and a game there, and trying to take things to overtime just to survive right now. And you can't just survive in the Atlantic Division. You can't. If you're Montreal, you just can't survive in that division. You have to win it, and you have to go out and take it. And like I said, it's a good thing that they racked up all those points and set the bar pretty high and got them pretty high up in the standings. So that way they can, if something like this happened, that they wouldn't have a problem. And so far it's been working for them, and hopefully it keeps up for them, Jay.
Now, one more thing before we get things wrapped up. I had my hopes so high for my Columbus Blue Jackets to begin the season. and seeing that they're 11-8-3 with 25 points, the worst team in the NHL, and tonight ain't helping none. They're losing 5-1 to Dallas right now, which, obviously is one of the hotter teams in the league right now. Is there any hopes that I am going to see my Blue Jackets at least get out of the bottom and get out of the cellar before this season is out, or is this one of those seasons that I should just go ahead and accept the fact that Columbus is not going to even not only not make the playoffs, but probably not get out of the bottom of the Metropolitan Division?
I think what Columbus really needs is a good goal scorer. I know Carolina's trying to put Jeff Skinner out on trade bait right now, and if they can do that, if Columbus has the money to reach out for a guy like Jeff Skinner, and rumors in Tampa right now, Steven Stamkos doesn't want to be playing right wing in Tampa right now because he can't. It doesn't seem like him and John Cooper get along, and their contract negotiations have been halted right now. So Columbus if Columbus picks up a decent goal scorer, the defense is there. Bobrovsky's out right now with an injury, and hopefully that won't take him too long to get back from. He's been playing solid. The teams have been playing solid. Tonight I was watching a little bit of that Dallas game, and they were only down 2-1, and then Tyler Seguin, within, I think it was 13 seconds, scored 2 goals on some pretty impressive play. So, I mean, Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn have been tearing it up. I think Columbus has found a game. I think they need to just build on it a little bit more. They need to create better 5-on-5 chances. Like I said, I don't think they have that pure goal scorer like a Phil Kessel or a Henrik Zetterberg or somebody like that to put points up on the board, or a guy like Patrick Kane or something like that. So I think if they would go out and find a good goal scorer, or even bring one up and develop a guy into a goal scorer, and just build them and everything like that. Their farm teams are pretty solid right now. They've been bringing up guys here and there to try and get a different look here and there, see what Tortorella likes. So I think he's still tinkering and toying, but he has a system in place, and I think it's just going to take. I think they'll make the playoffs. They always end up finishing strong. They've always finished strong. I mean, that's how they got into the playoffs last year. Was grinding it down at the end of the year. I think, like I said, once they get that pure goal scorer, Jay, they can be a very, very dangerous team. They're a dangerous team to play right now, even though their record and sometimes their play doesn't
really show it. When they play Pittsburgh, that's a pretty heated rivalry. They've been owning Pittsburgh the last few games here, really shutting them down and really beating them down too. So I feel Columbus will be okay. I think they're just that big name goal scorer, just one big name away from really making a significant move to the top, the top tier teams and everything like that to hang with the big dogs. So I feel if they go out and spend the decent money that it's going to take, they're going to be a very dangerous team and a very good team at that.
Well, as always, Izzo, it is a privilege and an honor to have you on the show. Always get a great fix of NHL talk. Obviously, I'll be excited about sitting down here again next Tuesday night and doing this again. So looking forward to that. Hopefully things go good for the tough man thing that you got going on and all the training and you get yourself ready for it. Definitely be excited to hear more about that as you get closer to that. And I'm sure that we will be keeping in touch sometime throughout this week. And like I said, looking forward to next Tuesday night.
All right, Jay. Well, you have yourself a good night, sir, and we will see you next Tuesday.
Yes, sir. That was Izzo, our NHL expert. Glad. You have no idea how glad I am to have Izzo as part of our network and come on here and talk NHL. It's always a highlight of the Tuesday night show and always a highlight throughout the week. So definitely looking forward to having him back on next Tuesday. Looking forward to having him out there to some Carolina Hurricane games. We got to get some dates set up. We've been approved to have him out there. Now we just got to get him out there. So we need to get together and get those worked out. But don't forget, tomorrow night, we'll start off tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, 110 Nation morning show. Make sure you guys are there. Tomorrow night, we'll be back at this at 9 o'clock. I'm looking forward to it at 9 o'clock. As every week, we got Monday through Friday, the 110 Nation morning show. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., and then the 110 Nation Sports Show, 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. Like I said, we got Racing with Big Sweat Thursday night, 9 p.m., so make sure you guys tune in. Don't forget to check out our site, www.the110nation.com. Check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com. Check us out on Facebook, my fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Check us out on Twitter, mine, at CJ Sports1, the 110 Nation, at 110 Nation. Got to thank Izzo once again for joining us, everybody for listening in, the I-95 Sports Network for syndicating us. You guys have a great night, and we'll be talking to you guys tomorrow.
It's gripping at every turn. Because one of the most popular ultra-high performance tires ever to hit the street is ready to tear it up like never before. With a whole new level of traction, stability, and braking performance, whether wet or dry. Step up to the all-new Nitto 555 G2. Check it out at nittotire.com. It's what's next.